welcome back to the Horde's Trollblood 25 points army to take on Dave at Mini Wargaming Box-to-Battle. I have to make these titles a little shorter. Episode 3, Painting the Impaler, Part 2. So this is the completed test model, and this is what I'm basing the painting the second Impaler on. And in this episode, we're going to look at doing the tan and the browns. So I start off with the tan using the Reaper Master Series, the tanned leather. And I started with this on just doing the chicken. I have to admit, I really chuckled when I saw that these Trollblood, the light war beasts, have poultry attached to their belt. That really made me laugh and made me like them even more. Now, typically when I do my chicken, I do it light, so I'm painting this as a light, not super crispy. And then I found with the Reaper stuff, I didn't thin it to begin with, hoping that it would go on a little bit thicker, but I found it was a little bit patchy, so I eventually added some water to this, and I used just water for my dehumidifier. But I had to go back and do 2-3 coats to get a nice even base coat for this. I like the Reaper paints because they come in the triad, so you get your base, your highlight, and your shadow colors all in the same set if you want to follow it. In this case, I actually used one of the browns from one of the other triads, and then the darker and the mid-tone for my base and my shadow, or base and my highlights. So you can do it as whatever suits your purpose. And again, you could use any color, tan color paint here as well. So I went after the straps inside the arm gauntlets there. Now I tried to stay out of the deep recesses, but because I dry brushed there's some metallics in there, so I found I actually had to get a little bit of it in there. And same thing with the other side. Now if I was to do this again, I probably wouldn't have put the arm on at this point. Actually, no, that one arm is on. It's the fist that isn't on. It's the other arm that isn't. So I have to remember how I put this together. And I realized afterwards that I wasn't quite on camera. I think doing the base coats it was a little bit easier, but this case I found because I'm twisting and turning it a little bit. So this is a learning process for me because this is really the first painting series that I've done. So any feedback or any recommendations, the camera I have is actually to the side, to my left a little bit and elevated, and I have to look away from the miniature over to the camera to see what's going on. I may see if I can change that setup a little bit. And again, just going back and touching up anything after it's dried. I find that you had to let the first coat dry a bit before going after the second on these. So there's the tan done, and so now I'm going to use the sepia wash from Citadel. Now I'm sure there's the new version, I'm not sure what the name of the new one is. And what I did here is I just gave it a good solid coat. I was hoping it'd be a little bit darker. What I did with my original models, I actually did 4 or 5 coats, just sort of build it up in layers. And what I focused here is just the recesses, because I didn't want the really dark brown from the Delvin mud in the chicken, because I didn't want it looking too dark or too muddy. So that's why I went with the sepia instead. And I like the sepia because it's more, it adds a bit of a warmer tone to it. And it really, as you can see, the lines where I had to fill in the recesses really get popped out with the sepia. I did use a little bit of the Delvin mud as well, and what I did is I actually thinned the Delvin mud down about 1:1, so just a little bit of water and thinned it down so it wasn't quite as strong. And what I did is I focused on the areas underneath, so the really shadowy areas that would be in the shadow. Generally when I've been painting, I've been trying to look at the light source as being directly above the model. So I'm just trying to catch the areas where the shadows would fall naturally. So as you see, I'm focusing on the under part and the lower portions of the right arm there, the throwing arm. And you can always clean this up because when you're going to do go back and with the base coat color again. And now for the brown, I used the Vallejo model color, the Burnt Umber, which was just a nice brown. As you can see, I'm not very brand loyal or specific when it comes to this. I just pick up the paints that I see. I had, prior to getting back into the hobby about 2 years ago now, I had it all exclusively just Citadel paints because that was really what was available at the time when I bought them. I still have some paints from the original paint box sets from the late 80s, early 90s that are still, some of them are on, some of the paints are unopened, but they're still work really well. But after seeing a lot of the reviews and the people like Les Bursley and some of the guys on Mini Wargaming, Paul Mini Wargaming, talking about the Vallejo and talking about the Reaper, I've made a point of trying the different paints and to see which ones work for me and which ones I like. And I find that I like the Vallejo stuff. I really like the P3 paints as well. But I'm also not going to go out and buy a complete new range of paint when I still have a ton of it sitting on my desk. So I'm not sure if I'll completely go with one line over the other. I like having the different color ranges you can select from. So in the brown here, I made a point of when I didn't do it on film, but I did catch all the cloth or the leather around the staff here, and I was a little sloppy with it, but knowing I was going to go back with it with the brown. And the nice thing with this is I'm going to give this a really heavy wash afterwards, so you don't have to be 100% accurate here, because the Delvin Mud will clean up any of the little subtle mistakes if there's a little bit too much of the lighter color. Just get in all the little grooves and such. I actually really have quite enjoyed painting this miniature. It's one of those ones I've not really rushed through it, so I've taken my time and really quite enjoyed some of the little nuances to it. Now, if I didn't have to get this done in less than 2 weeks, I'd be happy, but I don't know if I'd be this productive if I didn't have the timeline. I find that's been one of the driving factors for me. Is getting this stuff done, is knowing that I've got a game against Dave on the 27th. So I went after the other brown parts. For these, I didn't actually really do any highlighting. I just did this coat, and then you'll see a little bit later I might use the Delvin Mud, and I just left it at that for the time being, because I think it looks good just as it is. I did thin the brown down as well, because I find that the model color can take a little bit of thinning, and it just flows that much nicer off the brush, I find. And I don't have to use a super fine tip brush to get the detail, because I got that nice tip on that Army Painter brush. And that's the Regiment brush I'm using. I've got the character and the insane detail brush, but I find the one I almost always go to is that Regiment brush. So in here I've gone after the belt as well. This one I found I was able to get a fairly good coat the first time. And I guess the pigment counts will make a difference on whether or not you're going to get full coverage the first time or not. The nice thing about this kind of paint scheme, and which I'm hopefully going to get to after I've finished my game with Dave, is this is very similar to the same paint scheme I use for my orc, so a lot of this stuff will transfer between gaming systems as well. I find that people often paint similarly between the different games and stick to a style they like, and to a style of model too. I mean, I guess it's no surprise that I picked Trollbloods, being a big orc player. A friend of mine, Phil, who's been in a few of our battle reports, he's picked up the Legion of Everblight, which to me, a lot of the War Beasts have a very similar Tyranid feel, and he plays Tyranid. So back to the Delvin Mud. This is where I was talking about just soaking this thing in the wash, and that really fills in all the recesses, and it will clean up any of the little overages if you get with the light tan. And then went over the brown parts as well, which fills in all the recesses, which to me, for what I'm looking for here for tabletop, I'm not going to do any more highlighting on that because I don't think it needs it. If I want to go back up and make it a little bit nicer, I probably will, but at this point, for what I'm doing here, I think that's enough. On the belt itself, I'll probably go back and do a little bit of highlighting. And what I've done here is, I mentioned this in the last video, I was going to do some washing on the metallics just to sort of muddy them up and dirty them up a little bit more. And that's why I'm just doing it here, since I knew I'd be doing it with the browns. Next up, okay, so we're going back and going over the stuff we did. Now we did this with I did this with the Reaper Master Series brown leather, which is actually a darker brown. I thought I started with this one. Then when I looked at the video footage, I realized I started with my highlight color, and now I've gone back to my sort of my base color, which was a bit of a faux pas, but it still looked good, so I really couldn't tell. So what I'm doing here is I'm highlighting it, and again I'm just going over the area with the wash and basically making sure that there's doing the highlighting on it. So at this point I'm on the right arm, I guess it says right arm, just highlighting the top portion so it looks like the light's reflecting off that, and then just catching the edges and just trying to get it. I watered it down almost about a 1-to-1, and the nice thing about that is that you're going to get, it's going to become, you do multiple layers, so you can basically get that translucent, so it's going to pick up the shades from beneath it, so you can do it a gradual. Now I've gone back to the tan leather, which is the really light, and this is going to be my final highlight. And again, use some water here, get it to a nice, I don't think it was quite 1-to-1 ratio there. I think it was probably about 2 parts paint to 1 part water in here, just hitting the really top pieces here. And this is a zero brush I picked up. It's a Kolinsky brush. Picked it up at a hobby store in the east end of the city of Toronto. And here just getting really the top edges just to make it look, make the ropes pop out from the top. Again, ignoring any of the bottom shades or shadows. The same thing, just hitting, there's basically like 3 straps, just hitting the very top part of the strap. I guess it doesn't come through as nicely on the video as it does in person, but you can really see the. And you can do it so it builds it up as well. Now I'm just going back over the chicken as well, just hitting the top highlight parts. So very often you tell people you're painting a chicken. And you get just in the side. Again, I'm not doing anything on the bottom part. I'm just highlighting the parts where you figure there'd be some light hitting it. And there we go. That brings us to the end of part 2 of painting the Impaler. I'm hoping to get the blue skin tone and I think a few of the details in the next video, and then we can call this one done. And I'm hoping to actually have a battle report, one of the first battle reports I have with the Trollbloods, getting myself ready for my game with Dave. So click on like and subscribe if you want to see more. And we do have a Twitter feed at DeathEdDice where I'm trying to post some photos. And if you have any comments, suggestions, criticism, throw them in the comment field below. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.